here we go.
I'm going to start with the front. So when you load the trailer, you're going to back up, and you have a backup camera on this. You're going to back up, and you basically want to get it to the point where you can barely see the edge of the ball right here. You want the ball to slide in from the front. You don't want the ball to be back here and slide in from the back. If you do that, chances are the ball will be sitting on the claw underneath here, on the coupler, and you'll go to close it, and you won't realize that the ball's just sitting in the hole with the coupler on top of it as opposed to under it. And then you're going to drive off, and it's going to jump off, and it's going to slam into the back of your truck and ruin everything. So, to double check to make sure you did it right, after you're done, just always take a quick gander under. You can see the claw underneath, and just make sure it's on the bottom side of the ball, wrapped on the bottom. There's a bolt under here too, and it's a spring tension bolt. So if you're ever getting, when you're driving, see if you can kind of see it. I'm gonna watch it. See the claw right there?
Oh yeah.
So some people, the ball's here and it gets caught on top. And then here, of course, so you have this hook right here. You know, if this ever gets a little too hard, you can put a little grease right here, or a little grease on the ball too. If you ever hear, like when you're taking off, stopping and going, you hear clank, 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 clank. Sometimes you want to check that bolt right there. You might need to tighten that bolt. If it's like squeaking and squawking, like it's really tight every time you're turning, it's too tight, maybe you need to loosen it a little bit. Best thing is to just take the receiver out and use that as a guide, put it in there, not on the truck. And if you know that's good, then your clanking is probably coming from where the receiver goes into the tow hitch. So then this pin right here goes through. I like to kind of put this cable just to kind of keep it clean, and then it just keeps it so that the pin could never, the coupler could fully never come open 100%. Your chains always get crisscrossed. If you notice that these chains drag a lot where they are, I think you're fine, but if you notice a lot of dragging, what you could do is do like one twist, and that'll just tighten the tension. If you twist one side, like I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. See that thing? 4, 3. Do the same on both sides. Okay. So right there's 3 twists. 1, 2, 3. Start over. You want about pretty close to the same on both sides.
Okay.
You don't want the chains too loose to where they're dragging. You don't want them too tight to where when you make a turn, it's dragging your trailer around the corner. So you kind of want to find the sweet spot. You crisscross them, so if that were to ever jump off, it's kind of, the idea is it would jump off and it would sit on the chains as it stretches out, and it kind of creates a basket for the trailer. All right. This right here, which I'm going to redirect in a second, this should always be separate from your chains. It should go directly to the tow package. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a clip here, and I'm going to just keep it separate. In a sec, I'm going to hook it up separate from the chains. So let's say it jumped off the hitch, your chain snapped. Last resort is as the trailer's going away from your vehicle, it's going to pull the pin out, which is going to slam the brakes on the trailer so it doesn't go, crazy behind you. So if you have it connected directly to the chain snaps, it's coming with the chain, it's not going to break up the trailer.
Cool. If we accidentally pull it out, you just push it back in, the pin?
Correct. It's kind of a hard pull. So, same with this too. When I have this hooked up before you leave, you don't want it too tight like this where you turn it, you make a turn and it pulls the pin out and it slams on the brakes to the trailer. But you don't want it too loose to where it's dragging on the ground. Kind of want it in the same looseness as the chain. The jack, does that make sense to you so far?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the settings are right here on how to adjust the jack. There's a light button on here too. Lights down here, so make sure you don't accidentally leave the light on and walk off and have a dead battery later on, because that's directly to the battery.
Got it.
And the light is.
So that's the light. It's on there, and if I look under here, these lights are on.
Oh, okay.
So right there, you can see
Oh.
So
Cool.
make sure you don't accidentally turn it on and leave it on. You do have a solar panel on there, which is bypassing the battery disconnect and everything else. So as long as you're in sun, that battery will always charge.
Cool.
Okay. I believe you have a trickle charger on as part of your 7-pin, because this is a factory tow package. So as long as you're plugged in, if the battery disconnect in here, there's a switch in here I'm going to show you in a sec. If it's on, it's allowing the battery to function. If it's off, the battery is totally, as if it's sitting on the shelf, disconnected from everything. All right, so if you're towing and you have the battery disconnect turned on, which you'll get a better vantage point when you go to the other side, it's either pointing towards the red, off, pointing towards the green, on. If it's on, your vehicle will charge that battery. One of the wires in here trickle charges the battery while you're towing. If you're plugged in to shore power and that battery disconnects on, that shore power will also trickle charge your battery. Besides that, if you're in sun, that solar panel is always going to charge your battery regardless if that's on or off.
Cool.
So I guess the general rule of thumb for me is if you're towing and camping on, storing, always off. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Now, if you're driving, make sure when you turn this on, make sure your lights and everything else in the inside of the trailer are turned off. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a moot point. You might be pulling more power than adding to it. But I guess the biggest benefit of this trailer driving would be that you could run your fridge. It's a 3-way fridge. You can run it on the battery. So your battery would be charged from your solar and your truck while you're driving. But if you're going camping and it's raining, your solar panel's doing you no good, you definitely want that battery on for your truck to charge the battery, which is running the fridge. Fridge will drain a battery real quick unless you have solar running or the fridge running, or the truck running. So if you're camping in the sun, you have the fridge running on battery, you're fine. It'll run it almost indefinitely. But
Cool.
I highly recommend battery's the best way for in-route towing. Once you get to the campground, if you're at a utility campsite, you run it off AC, which is plugged in power. DC is battery. So you'll run it off AC if you have utilities at the website or at the campsite, or gas, propane. So you can run that fridge for about 2 weeks off one tank of propane.
Sweet.
So battery while towing, gas or AC while camping.
And if you try to run the fridge off of propane while you're driving, it'll just turn off or something.
No, you totally can. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
They don't recommend having propane on while you're driving. I don't care. Whatever you guys do is your choice. So if this was a 2-way fridge, I'd say break the rule and you don't want your food to spoil, run it off propane. But in this way with the 3-way fridge, you have sun and power from your truck, battery all the way. It's
Yeah.
the most efficient. So
Cool.
what else? So this battery in here, you have a deep cycle, interstate deep cycle battery. So when you're on your fridge, you'll have 3 settings: gas, DC, AC. Just think of DC as deep cycle. DC, if you select DC, that's the battery. For the AC is going to be plugged in power.
Cool.
Your propane's right here, righty-tighty on, left is on, right is off. Your battery, you should never have to do anything. It's already hooked up. If water were to get in there, there's holes in the bottom of the box mounted to the frame. It's a 2-year interstate warranty on the battery. That's that.
Cool.
The battery disconnect, as you can see. When you get over to the other side, we're going to keep this open. And you'll see here, it kind of turns. So right now, if you reach over, if you look over, you can kind of see the arrow pointing that way with the green. You can kind of see the green on one side.
Yep.
And try flipping it. I think it's down. That'll be off.
Yep.
Flip it the other way. That's on.
Sweet. You want to do that, BJ?
Wait, I didn't see where you were. So with the arrow pointing this way.
Oh,
you
this
can
thing?
see- Yeah, you
Flip
can
it
see it's
down.
kind of towards
Down.
the green.
Down is
Now
off,
it's, now it's towards the, if you were underneath the trailer, it would be pointing towards the red, which is off.
and then low.
Yep. There you go.
So the solar panel is at these wires here.
Yeah, so you have a main ground. You have a main ground to the trailer, a main positive. You have a solar panel positive, and you have a jack positive, and you have a positive to your brake release.
Got it.
Emergency brake. Down here, if you have a sewer hose, you can put it in there. You have a
Oh,
sewer
it's just
hose in your
storage?
kit.
Okay.
So sewer hose will fit in there. Unfortunately, the elbow won't fit in there.
Okay.
So most people end up just storing the whole thing in a tote. But it's your call however you want to do it.
We can put an umbrella in there.
There you go. Running lights. Do you have the keys? All right, so purple keys are going to be storage and main door. You have 2 purple keys, and then you have 1 silver key. I don't know why they don't take 2. This is just for your water. The purple key can go in any which way. This is channeled, it can only go in one way. So right here, this is your 6-gallon water heater. You don't live where it snows, right?
In Tahoe.
It's in Tahoe, so you may have to, if you're storing Watch some videos on winterization. You know, if you have water in there, you don't want to freeze up the pipes and have the plastic pipes crack. So winterization might be a deal that you're going to want to look into if you're storing it during the wintertime in snowy weather. Any weather where it's going to be 36 degrees or less for 24-hour periods of time.
Cool.
If you're camping in 36 degree or less for 24-hour period of time, leave a faucet drip running to keep the stuff circulating. So you don't, you know what I mean? Just turn the valve open a little bit. It just keeps stuff flowing throughout the nights.
Sink and shower.
I don't think you need to do.
one of the
Yeah, just the sink would be fine.
Cool.
Because they share the same plumbing.
This is electric and gas. So if you're at a campground with electric, meaning it won't run off battery, it's going to run off either plugged in or propane. So if you're at a campground with utility hookup, run it off electricity. If you're at a dry camping, no hookups anywhere, run it off gas.
Cool.
It takes about 20 minutes to get hot. When you're on gas mode, you'll see this pressurize a little bit when you get up to the boiling point. If you see a couple drops coming down, it's totally normal. It's just the pressure release valve that's getting up to that point where it's going to turn off. Once it turns off, it'll automatically turn on and off as needed to replenish more hot water as it comes and goes. Got it? If you ever wanted to drain the hot water tank, it's this socket here.
Cool.
That's 6 gallons in there.
Okay.
So if you're winterizing it, you'll see that's a part of the process. You're going to want to bypass all the plumbing, and there's hookups behind here where you have to bypass that to winterize because you don't want any of that antifreeze in the water heater ever.
Okay.
Antifreeze should never go into the water heater nor the freshwater tank. So there's bypass valves on both of those, which would be part of the winterization process.
Cool. How do you switch it from AC to
Gas to electric. You'll see when we get to the inside.
Cool.
Stabilizers. You have a stabilizer bar on the inside. It just goes on here. Crank it down or up. You have stabilizers on all 4 corners. So when you get to the campground, you unhook it. Use the main jack, the electric jack, to kind of eyeball level it, and then you bring these down just to take stress off the front jack. All right. You also have stabilizer links in the back. It's part of like the free things I give away, so you can put like their Lego blocks, put them on each corner if you want.
Cool.
What else? Underneath here, this is your freshwater tank.
Yep.
This right here, if I wanted to drain it, see how that works?
Yep.
This is your lowest point in plumbing.
Okay.
This is your cold. Blue is cold, red is hot. This is called PEX. So if I wanted to drain the water out of all the plumbing, I would just turn those two and it would completely drain your plumbing. So it's basically one freshwater tank, low points in plumbing, water heater. That's, if I were to remove all 4 of those, that's every bit of water out of your system entirely.
Cool.
See these right here? These wires that are kind of taped?
Mm-hmm.
These correspond to level sensors inside the tank. So if you were to ever get like a, hey, it says it's half full, but I know it's not full at all, or it's fully full, just come out here with a little screwdriver and make sure those are tight. They didn't wiggle their way loose, which is giving you an erratic reading on the main controller on the inside.
Cool.
Same thing on your gray and black tank over here. You see these right here? Sometimes these washers will be a little loose and you'll get a funny reading, and you just hand tighten them and just use a little 10mm wrench.
Yep.
If you are at a campground with cable, you can plug it in here and you'll have cable TV on the inside.
Fancy.
2 types of. Are you familiar with city water or fresh water?
No.
All right, so if you're dry camping, you're going camping where there's no utilities anywhere, you're off grid. You're going to fill up your freshwater tank. You're going to put the hose close to here. It's going to fill up water into your fresh tank there. Don't just jam the hose in and turn it on full blast and expect it when it fills up to come out this. Where's that? This little baby breather. That's an airline. It is a return, but it's so much smaller than what would be going in. You'd blow up your tank. So hold the hose back. You know, it might take 5 minutes to fill it up. Watch the water so you can actually see it come in, so that when it does get full, you'll see the water come back out, right? And then cap it off. You'll turn on your water pump, and then you'll run the faucet just for 5 seconds just to get the water out of the tube, just so you know that the water level's back in the tank and not sitting from here, between here and the tank. Now, if you're at a campground, if you're dry camping where you have no power, you're going to get water from your freshwater tank. To get the water from your freshwater tank, there's going to be a switch on the inside that says water pump. That's going to be the only way. The water pump runs off the battery, which brings water from the tank to your faucet, shower, toilet, etc. If you're at a campground where you have like an actual hose, spigot, and stuff like that, you'll just hook the hose up to here, you'll turn the spigot on, and you'll have pressurized water already at the source.
Cool.
So if you're running this route, you're never going to turn on your water pump. It's already pressurized. Now you can't just hook the hose up to this directly. Well, you can, but it'll probably blow out the seals because the max pressure is 50 psi. So you use what's called a water pressure regulator, which is in the kit that I give you for free. It's a little brass valve that goes here. The hose goes to the other side, and it limits the pressure from like 70 or whatever it is down to 45, 50.
Some cities are really high.
Most cities are around 70.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Good to know.
Every campground, everything. So you're just going to put the water pressure regulator in there.
Good to know.
So regulator goes there, hose goes to that, or the regulator, for all I care, can go on the other end. It just needs to be in line.
Yeah.
So freshwater, off-grid camping, city water if you have utilities. Freshwater, you need to have the water pump on. Another thing is, let's say you completely drained out all your water for some reason. You had no water in your system. You filled up your freshwater tank, or you were on city water. Let's say you did city water. You would want to turn all your valves on for like 30 seconds on each, because you'll see at the sink, like it'll spit and sputter. Get all the air out of the lines, especially on the hot on the shower, outdoor shower, hot on the sink, because it's going to want to circulate all that. It's going to take a while to get through the radiator area of the heater. You don't want any air bubbles in the heater when you turn the heater on. The heater's not smart. If you turn it on, it'll run with no water and burn up.
Oh.
So make sure you have no air in the lines, especially before you run the water heater.
Cool.
Same with the freshwater tank. What I would do is, if I were to do it through the freshwater tank, I would turn the pump on. You might have 20 gallons in the tank. By the time you pop all the valves and stuff, like 10 gallons will come through, 6 gallons into here, 4 more gallons into all the lines, and then you'd want to top off your freshwater tank again.
Oh, cool.
Does it make sense?
Yep.
Max is here.
Okay. Here's your valves. So your black tank and gray tank separate. Your black tank is part of the whole toilet system. It's like a 10-gallon tank below the toilet that's built into the toilet.
Cool.
So the gray tank, it actually goes all the way across the frame. All right. It all comes to the same convenient elbow. So you put your sewer hose up to here if you're camping. Keep the gray open, so every time you're using the sink, shower, whatever, it'll just free fall. You know, you won't even be holding stuff in your tank if you're at a place where you have hookups.
Cool. And to
It'll
keep
just-
it open, you just
Yeah,
twist
but
it
never
up
keep
and-
the black open.
Right.
So your starter kit's going to have some sort of a black fragrance stuff that you put in the toilet. You flush a gallon down, and it keeps the smell. It's sanitary stuff for the toilet. So you never keep that open if you're camping at a place with utilities. Only this one, and then you dump that when you're done camping. All right. Now, if you're dry camping somewhere and you don't have utilities, obviously you're going to dump it on the way back home or wherever, right? So when you do dump that way, you'll hook your hose up here. You'll do the black first, and then you'll do the gray, because the gray is going to kind of flush everything out.
Cool.
So when you're done camping at the campground, if you're at a campground where you have hookups and you have this open all the time, right when you're done camping, then you'll pull the black valve to drain that, and then you'll close it, and then you'll run the just run the sink or shower or whatever to kind of clean out the hose before you remove it.
Cool.
Got it?
How do you dump black if you're not at a campground or if I'm just at home?
I mean, we have gas stations here that have.
Oh, really?
Certain, like Valero is known to have dumping stations.
Cool.
It's free. So every
know.
campground will have it if it's a utility one, but you just have to look up a list. I know certain gas stations have them. Gray, you can dump gray anywhere. It's just dump it on the road for all I care. It's just sink water.
Yeah.
It's clean. Your tires are at 50 psi. There's a sticker on here that says max PSI cold is 50 psi. So you should check it after 3 months or so. Just double check the pressure of the tire.
Cool.
The wheel torque is 100 foot-pounds. Anywhere from 100 to 105 foot-pounds. I know you probably don't have your torque wrench goes up to 100, so that's perfect. So, otherwise, any America's Tire company you could pull in, they'll come out and check the torque.
You're talking about the lug nuts?
Per the lug nuts,
Yeah,
correct.
all right,
100 to 105. I put them at 105 this morning. They all clicked at 105, so it was already there.
Thanks.
There we go. We have an LED here. This right here, you should never have to go into. Service ports. This is for your fridge. Up here is your vent for your fridge.
Cool.
Like I said, you shouldn't have to go back here. If you're washing your trailer, don't spray the hose straight this way. When we wash with our pressure washer, we squirt down at an angle so you don't get water all inside your trailer.
So is there a pilot light in here somewhere?
If you run it on gas, the pilot light would be right there.
Okay, cool.
If you run it on electricity, it's plugged into a 110 outlet on that side.
Sweet.
after a heavy rain, if you're storing it, are you storing it under a carport or outside?
Outside.
Okay, after a super heavy rain, you might want to come out and just pop these vents off and make sure there's no water sitting on the inside. If there is, it would be this seal around here.
Cool. We were going to prioritize getting a nice cover for it.
Not waterproof, get water resistant. Waterproof will have humidity go up and it's the worst. So water resistant is the best way to go.
Good to
if
know.
you do put teardropshop.com sells the custom covers for these, it'll, just full disclosure, it'll ruin all your super expensive windows. If you're gonna cover this, go get some, they call it a cling. Like, you know what cling is? Like, you know, people put Halloween or Christmas decorations on their windows. It's like that. It's like a sticker that clings to it and then it comes back.
Oh,
you can reuse
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So you want really thick mill cling and just cut some sheets and just put one over the windows. You know,
Okay.
Just, you know, have it just hang over a few inches and then put the cover on. Because what happens that I'm hearing in the forums is those covers, when it's windy, it's just slapping against these windows. And when you go to take it off, you'll see like marring all over the windows. And I mean, these are super expensive windows. That's all I can tell you. So do your research before you cover it. And then if you ever do need maintenance on seals, this is called GE Kitchen Bath Window Silicone. Get it at any Home Depot, Lowe's. Clear silicone. It's ready in 30 minutes. That's the main seals. Anywhere you see clear is going to be that. So.
Cool.
Little outdoor shower.
Sweet.
When you put this back in, these are kind of janky. So this is your on and off switch for it.
Yeah.
When you put it back in, make sure it's off. And you'll always want to make sure these valves are off. And then it kind of just goes in that hole. You want to kind of make sure it stays there. Sometimes people, they put them in and it's like almost back all the way in the trailer. Last thing you want to do is turn the water pump on and it's like floating back in the trailer and you don't realize that this valve's on and it's shooting water all over inside your trailer. These, as you know, are magnetic. On the other side, you have a super bright LED light at nighttime. There's a switch over there.
Sweet.
So again, purple key. Did you already notice I hooked up the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
cool.
It's a pretty good picture. If you ever need to adjust the angle of the camera, it's all the way down, but you can loosen these four and move it up more.
Yeah. How correct do you think that is? 150? Don't test it, or?
I wouldn't go 150 because it's not a. Yeah, I'd say it's about right. Cargo rack, is that what you're thinking?
Just bikes can sometimes be heavy, you know?
Because the bikes are perfect for the front. Most people do cargo rack on the rear.
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan, can you hook up the bike rack on this real quick? So over here you have your LED.
Cool.
You have these little blocks I was telling you about. You have your sewer hose, like water pressure regulator.
Cool.
If you ever want to plug it in at home, you can go from it goes from 30 amp to 110 normal.
Got it.
Plug, right? Use a heavy duty extension cord if you're going to make a run, depending on how far the run is.
Yep.
To your plug-in. This is the stuff that goes in the toilet. Comes with RV Safe toilet paper. If you ever buy toilet paper at Walmart, just make sure it says RV Safe on it. It comes with the garden hose. Comes with a little level, so you put that little level on one of the frame rails up front to kind of just watch the bubble, get it into the middle, and then see a level point. Some
Sweet.
people set it on the floor on the inside. No, you want to put it on the frame. That's the best way to get the level. You also have two little blocks, wheel chucks.
Yep.
Right here is your propane out. So as long as the propane's on, if you have an outdoor barbecue or a fire pit, you can just plug it into here and you'll get that. They make a 3-in-1. It's a fire pit, barbecuer, and something else all in one. It's pretty cool.
Sweet.
So that would be an accessory you might want to get, something like that. If you're running your furnace runs off gas. It's going to be really hot here, so don't put your lawn chair up against this thing. Okay. If you were to put your TV, that TV just comes off and comes out here and it goes on here. You'll have to get an adapter off Amazon for it to be powered, unfortunately, because it would be an HDMI to the power. So the way it runs inside is it goes to a 110 outlet. It goes from the TV to a 3-prong. You would need the TV to an HDMI. Or I'm sorry, totally wrong. TV to a...
USB.
No, yes. Let me make sure. Correct. TV to USB would be the best way, and then you can run it off battery because it's a 12-volt TV. And then the HDMI can go from here to the TV or the coax to the TV. And then you could select, you have 3 different zones. You have like A, B, and C, and you can select just the outdoor speakers, and you can watch your TV or movie out here. The stereo on the inside plays DVDs and stuff too.
Cool.
So it's all sunk to the TV. So right here we have you have a switch in here on your main control board, which is for the awning. This one is for the handle and step, so you can't really see because at nighttime this just has a nice glow to it. But there's an LED light under here too that's coming on at the same time.
Okay.
And then this is your porch light here, which
Okay.
once it's on, you can also physically turn it on and off. So if I touch this monitor board,
Yep.
it's going to come on and say Extreme Outdoors. If I touch it again, your freshwater tank is half full, your gray tank is empty, your battery's 13.6 volts. It's just 2 tabs.
Cool.
Freshwater, gray water, battery. Freshwater, gray water. If I stop it, it'll just turn off. This is really cool. You push this on. It's got a light up top there and a light up top here. If I hold the arrow, watch that light up here. It's going to get brighter and brighter.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's a dimmer. So you have a dimmer up there. It's just for ambient. Your plugins are only going to work if you're plugged into shore power. Okay, or if you're plugged into a generator. You can get a Furman 3200 watt generator from Costco.com, inverter generator for $6.99. Bitchin' generator for the price. It'll run your whole RV off grid. Okay.
Cool.
AC
That'll run AC? All right. Cool.
3200. It's called the Furman inverter generator. I think it's 3200 watts starting, 4000 watt max. Dual fuel. It runs off propane or gas.
Sweet.
It's like, don't quote me, $6.99 to $8.99. If it's at Costco, you already know it's the best price. And good return policy. So.
Is that about what the AC runs? That's the most powerful thing in here is the AC.
Correct, and then the microwave's about 1500 watts.
Cool.
So even with the generator, you might not be able to run microwave and AC at the same time, but everything, one or the other, and everything else are all good. So your plugins will not work, your AC and your microwave will not work.
Cool. If we're like
Unless
out
you're plugged in.
boondocking, can we somehow tell how much power we're using?
Well, you'll always see you'll have 2 things. This tells you the battery voltage right here, and then up here, it's saying 13.6 full, 13.6 full. Like your solar panel right now is not working because the master controller is saying, don't charge the batteries, don't overcharge it. You've already done as much as you can do. So
Cool.
this will automatically come on and off or just stay in like a float charge mode as it's filling the battery. But I would say this is probably going to be the most accurate. Sometimes it'll be a little off from there to here. This is going to be your most accurate to tell you where you're at.
Sweet.
This right here is programmed to a wet battery, which that's a deep cycle wet battery. If you ever were to change batteries out, you have to reprogram this to whatever type of battery you're putting in. So for the way it sits right now, don't ever mess with the settings. I already programmed it to that battery.
Cool.
Let's see. Right here, so these here, your like charger, cigarette lighter, USBs, that's all going to run off battery. So this is all battery stuff. Your radio is going to run off battery. If your outlets don't work, for some reason some of them don't work, you have a GFI, it's a circuit, the GFCI circuit breaker thing, you'll push the button there, you also have one down there.
Cool.
In here, this is your thermostat which controls everything. So if I push mode, first thing it's going to go is to fan. This is just, it's going to come, the fan is off your AC, so you have to be plugged in or do a generator to run the fan or the AC to run this unit, basically.
Cool.
There's 2 speeds, so if I go down here to push fan, it's going to bring it down to level 1. So you have a low speed, high speed on the fan mode. If I push mode again, it's going to go little snowflake, that's now it's running your air conditioning, max speed.
Got it.
I can change the temperature when I want it to turn on and off that. If I push fan again, it's going to run the AC at the low fan speed. If I push mode again, eventually it's going to turn off. Now we're going into furnace. Furnace is going to run down. You should have a vent over there. You can kind of feel with your leg. It's ducted.
Yep.
So now, within a few seconds, it's gonna power on the furnace by gas. You have to have the propane on.
Got it.
So without the propane on, it's just going to shut down after a couple of seconds.
Okay. Is it off right now? I can't remember.
No. So let's go on out here real quick. If you were to run out here after you turn it on, and within a minute of turning it on, you'll hear tick, 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 tick. The battery's lighting the
that's hot.
propane. So if you're boondocking, you have to have the battery on and the propane on because it's electronic ignition. The battery's igniting the propane, right?
Yep.
Same with the fridge. If you're running the fridge off gas, you have to have the battery on or you have to be plugged in because it's using an electronic source to light the flame. You don't have to get out with it. It's doing it all electronically through the battery. So,
Bless you.
same with the water heater if you run it off gas. Battery has to be on, or you have to be plugged in because it's going to electronically ignite the pilot.
Cool.
Stove too.
Is this like you can't breathe that? I don't know what comes out of that.
It's just heat.
Yeah, right.
It's not like carbon. It's not carbon monoxide or anything. So I think you can breathe it if you want to breathe it. Let's go back to the inside. So I'm going to turn this back off, and it's still going to run. It's got a minute cool down.
Okay.
And I'm going to put the AC just on the low mode.
Thanks.
Now I'm going to your smoke detector is right there. So that's like when we first get these trailers in, we have to run the heaters for about 30 minutes to blow all like the sawdust and stuff out. It'll set off the smoke detector. So we run it for about 30 minutes. If this sits for a season, the first time you run the heater after like a full year of sitting, don't be inside for 30 minutes. It's blowing out all, you probably had spiders work its way in there and stuff like that. Just let it burn all off before you come inside.
Cool.
You're down here. That's the monitor for your carbon monoxide. So right now it's blinking red because it's doing a test, and then it's going to go green. That tells me it's functioning and it's good.
Cool.
So you have carbon monoxide sensor, smoke detector. Right down here is your breakers. All your fuses.
Cool.
So the stove, again, the stove is gas. So I'm going to just go kind of to the light. When you push this button, the battery has to be on, or you have to be plugged in to actually create a spark when you're pushing the button. Now, let's say you ran out of gas and it didn't work, so you went and filled up your propane tank. You come back, you turn it on, you're going to put it on, you're going to be clicking it like 40 times, and then you're like, why is it not lighting? There's air in the line. So just turn it on, wait a few seconds. Once it lights, all the air's out, it's going to ignite every time after that right away. Same thing if you were to swap out your tank and then you went to run your water heater or your fridge or that, it might not go on, but it'll like only try 3 attempts and then it'll shut down. It's like a check engine light on the fridge will come, this check light will flash if you're in gas mode. And it'll shut down because it didn't see the propane. Turn it off, turn it back on, let it do it, it'll do another 3 cycles and it'll get it on the second or third time. There was air in the propane line, that's all. So right now the fridge is on, it's running in DC. You know what that mode is?
Yeah.
You guys remember?
Cord. Oh, deep cycle.
Battery. Yeah. DC is battery, AC is plug-in, gas is going to be gas.
Got it.
So let's see. I don't know how long it's been on for, but yeah, feel it. Good?
Oh yeah, nice.
Battery's
and cool.
doing its job.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if I push, check this out. So I'm going to push that button. That's going to go to gas. Now it's flipping over to gas. And if I push that, auto is kind of cool. Auto will run it on AC, which is plug-in.
Yep.
Or if it lost power. So let's say auto's a good default. If you're plugged in, it'll run on the shore power. And then if you lose power or power goes out, it'll automatically kick over to gas.
Okay.
And it'll go into gas mode as the secondary, assuming
Cool.
your propane's on. So this is your coldness. That's how you set the setting. If you ever get to the campground, you're like, my freezer's super cold, but my fridge is hot. Before you call me, take a look at this little fin here. Behind this fin, you see a little prong going in there, back there. There's a little probe back there. It's basically this little hose.
Yeah, I see it.
Sometimes when you're driving, this is like, if the more it goes up, the more cold it's going to get. The more I go down, the more hot it's going to get. But if the probe wiggles its way out, it's hanging down here. The fridge is going to, it's like basically you have the sensor way down and like don't even get cold.
Got it. Okay.
Instructions for the fridge are also right here. Pretty straightforward.
Do you know how many watts it pulls?
Fridge is done for only, I want to say maybe 100 watts.
Okay.
So it's going to pull the most juice at first when it gets cold. Once it gets cold, I don't even think it's that. It's probably like 80 watts or so.
So on a sunny day, we're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So I don't even think it's there. It's probably more like 40 or 80. I know it's more when it gets cold. But once it gets up to that cold temperature, it's only really kicking on and off as needed and just keep it at the right temperature.
Sweet.
Cabinets, pretty straightforward. It's a wardrobe cabinet here. These work. So you push it in. That's the lock. Same thing here. Over here. like super nice.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to all the other trailers we sell, these are like super nice. Down here, some people say like, what are all these weird wires? That's just the manufacturer. They chose not. They could have cleaned it up a little more. But that's you're basically seeing the back guts to the stereo, you know, if you were to hook up other speakers and stuff. So ignore it.
Cool.
That's just how they make them, I guess I would say. And here, okay, so
what do we got?
all right, so the fan in here, you have three different modes of speed. It runs off your battery, of course. So let's say you're obviously going to always have it on when you're showering to get the humidity and stuff out. When you're done camping, if you never used it before you go to store it when you get home, just make sure it's closed. When I first got into the business, because the trailers come from Pennsylvania and Indiana, and there would be like 3 on a truck or 4 on a truck, and like the semi guy would pull up, and I would see like one of the vents open. I'm like, that fucker was sleeping in the trailer on the way here. And then I realized after like 10 trips, and I saw it like on several of them, like, okay, they wiggle their way open.
Okay, cool.
So these ones are pretty tight, not as much, but just double check before you get home. Just make sure it's closed.
Yeah.
Before you store it.
Because that might rip off on the highway, you think, or no?
No, you just don't want it to open up, and then you go to store it and you realize it's raining and rain's getting all inside.
Cool.
On the inside of here, so your gray tank level is right there. Your black tank level is here.
Oh.
So
You want to check that out, BJ?
So if it's flashing over here, that means it's about 70% full. If it's flashing right there, it's like you can dump it right away. If this one's flashing, you just twist it, pull it off, because it doesn't really matter. And that just needs a place to go. A lot of people look at these and they're like, hey, why isn't this silicone down here? It's totally not supposed to be. Water, you can shoot water in there all you want. If water goes in there, the tub basically wraps up around the wall, so it comes up 2 inches around the whole wall.
Cool.
Oh, you also have a light in here. This light's just manual, on off. Bookshelf lights. Bookshelf right there. One there, one there.
Interesting.
And then down here, interior light. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 6 lights. And then you also have a bookshelf light around here that's manual. Once that switches on, you could.
Oh, you
So
can
you
turn
can
it
have
on.
it to where it's
Cool.
like, I only want that switch to run, you know.
Yeah. All right, good.
Your awning light's going to be here. Your handle and step light is there. Your porch light is going to be there. Your water pump, for instance, is going to be here. Your water heater, whether you run it off electricity or gas. Remember, if you're running it off electricity, make sure you're plugged in. If you're running it off gas, make sure your propane is on. Propane and battery. The windows. We also have a little storage in there. So you understand how these kind of open up.
Yeah.
So when you open it up, you can kind of put it where you want, and then you tighten the shocks on both sides, right? And
Yeah.
that'll lock it. And if you put it down, you can kind of put it here in the middle, which is the vent mode.
Oh.
If you just want, I don't know why people do that, but if you're
Okay.
storing it and when they're closed, I always put it there. These blinds are super cool. They're also the super first thing to break.
Okay.
Especially because they're not designed, especially that one I'm going to go over with you about how delicate it is when you use that blind back there. They're not designed for curved windows. These ones will never break because they're straight shot down, straight shot up. You kind of lock it in and choose. You don't have to be so delicate on these ones. But these screens, like right here is a curve, so it's like I'm going to be real easy. You see how it's wanting to stretch? This is like a center point, and I might want to pull that down a little bit, just so I'm not overstretching this as I'm going down. If you feel it, it's a metal film. So if like you have a cat, once you dent this, it's never gonna keep its perfect form going up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So same with the screen. That screen, if you want to open it.
Where's the screen
No,
at?
the one on the door. Oh, there's one on the door, right? Nope. It's right there. No. Other side. You almost got it.
This way.
Right there. You got it.
The left, got it.
There you go.
Oh,
So if you have like a cat or a dog.
Penny's gonna.
Love that.
Oh, you got your dog, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right, so be careful with that too.
So, like this one, no problem. But no problem. Problems that I've seen with this trailer. Number one biggest problem I've seen is these valences over here coming off.
This
So
whole
they
thing?
can, yeah. So what it is on the valence itself is like a sticky. It's like a double. It's like Velcro, where it's Velcro on the bottom and it's sticky tape on the top of it to this, and then it's the opposite on the window. And basically, when you put it on, it's the Velcro. And sometimes they pop off. Sometimes it's just it wasn't stuck with the Velcro, or sometimes where it's actually stuck to here or there, it's just coming loose. And I think it's the elements of how hot and cold it's getting in here that's doing it. That's just be cautious of it. It's covered under warranty if you're near me, or I hate to say fix it yourself, but it's probably easier to fix it yourself than bring it. But I'm more than happy to fix stuff for free under warranty if you want to bring it in any time on stuff. So that's just probably the number one thing I've seen. It always seems to be this one and that one back there.
Got it.
Okay, next. So when you do this one here, you pull this down. See this second part right here?
Yeah.
I like to use my finger and just try to even it out a little bit. There you go. So as long as you're delicate with it, it'll last forever. Rarely do I see phones with these ones getting damaged.
Cool.
The biggest upgrade people do on these is the stupid mattress they put in.
Yep.
So I'll send you lots of recommendations if you want to upgrade your mattress. You can either upgrade the mattress or people put the foam on top of it or under it. But that's the biggest complaint I've seen. Not warranty issues is those things. Comfortable issues is the mattress. The TV. You'll notice that there's a splitter here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over to the radio for a sec. We're going to turn the radio on. The radio is Bluetooth and everything, so you can sync your phone to it. So like this says zone B. Let's see. Let me just turn all the zones off. Alright, so zone C is your outside, right?
Yep.
Is that outside?
Yeah.
So zone C is outside.
Behind
Zone
me.
A is behind you. And zone B is going to be the ones back there. If I go back to mode, you can switch through. You see where it says HDMI ARC? If you put a DVD player in there, you're going to select, you turn the TV on, you're going to select HDMI ARC. You're going to come over here, and if your movie's not playing, you're going to select that and go to the other section. One of it's designed for, basically one is indoor and two is the outdoor outlet for that. So if you're not getting the movie, it's the signal's on the outdoor outlet, you'll just flip it to the next one and you'll get the picture in here.
Sweet.
And if you put the TV out there, then I forget which one, if one's inside or outside, but that's how you do that.
Cool.
Do you have Bluetooth on, do you have your phone on you? I do. So go ahead and go to your Bluetooth settings. I'm going to Bluetooth because I'm going to hold down the pair. You have 120 seconds to find it. Let me turn it off and turn it back on.
computer.
Thomas, did you? There it is. Alright, so once you get that, the trick is I push this button here. Yeah. So you have to push this button here. And you do it to that. Okay. And does it say connect to someone? Just push it going. Scroll up, is that it? You have music on your phone? I do. Alright, nice.
Cool.
Microwave, I don't really need to show you that. Now, there's another thing you're going to want to, so down here, manuals on everything is in here. One for your TV, for the radio. I mean, the one you're really going to want to study is 3 manuals: the radio, the TV, and the Air King, which is your little satellite on the roof.
Is the what?
Little satellite on the roof.
Oh.
So when you hook up, you can turn on the TV, you can turn this on. Let's trade spots really quick.
Yeah.
So under here, under this board here, first of all, you have, if you were to put this table down here, you would need these 2 other pieces to make the difference. Okay, makes sense? So they're both. This right here, if I turn this on, that's your power button for up there. See when I turn that on?
Okay.
So your signals, so that's basically your satellite TV deal. With that on, so when you turn your TV on, you can actually turn this all the way up. The more blue lights, the better the signal your TV is going to get to find stations. So you can kind of just move this around.
And that's actually twisting the thing up there?
Yeah, it's
Got it.
there. I almost got a third one going. And I'm going to try to find a little sweet spot. And then when you go into the TV, you'll push scan. It'll take 5 minutes to scan through every station, and it'll tell you which one's actually found. And you'll find like 15 stations that you've never heard of. Soccer, rec scan, all sorts of stuff. When you're camping or doing docking and stuff.
Cool.
Something to play around with.
There's 2 switches for that.
Correct. This is your stabilizer jack tool.
Yep.
Is it probably like it does? I don't know about electricity or point from the battery, but making sure we turn that off too.
I would,
That's not
because that would, like that.
start drawing a little bit.
Correct.
Okay.
Kind of like a clock.
Sure.
You can't turn the clock off.
Okay.
TV stuff. Camera stuff. So believe it or not, this camera's kind of cool. You can actually bring that screen in here and plug it in. If you're camping, and it'll be like, that, you can actually utilize that camera as like surveillance. And I think it could record while you're like away.
Fancy.
Fire extinguisher is here. Any questions so far?
So far, so good. My questions are going to be the water.
Okay.
I think we're getting there though, right?
So I'm going to turn your water pump on now.
Yeah.
The water pump is on. I know we have water in the tank, so I'm comfortable turning it on. It's not burning it. Go ahead and turn it on.
Oh, nice. It's good power.
Super, yeah, like that.
Oh,
Now,
sweet.
let's see if it gets hot. Because I think that the electric water heater on. I forget if hot's backwards or forward.
So you don't need to prime the water heater with like 6 gallons first? It automatically does that, or?
Well, you run the hot. You run the hot until it spits and sputters. That's what primes it, just by opening it.
Oh, got it. Okay. And then is it kind of an instant hot water heater, or do you need to
20
like?
minutes.
Okay.
If it's not, it hasn't been on long enough to be hot.
20 minutes from when you when how would
First
you like?
turn on, correct.
Okay, cool. So before we shower, turn it on, run a little hot water, and then wait 20 minutes.
Let me turn it on. Correct. And then just leave it on while you're camping, and then you'll always, I mean, once it heats up the first time, it's going to constantly turn on and off just to sort of get it fine.
Cool.
So yeah, 20 minutes and you're good. So if you ever needed to, hey Thomas, you want me to drill real quick with the
So once you have utilized all your water, and then you're refilling it, and you're saying, because if you turn on the water pump and it's empty, it doesn't have water in it, you could burn out the system.
Not the one. Well, the water pump. Yeah, you never want to run the water pump without water or the water heater. So if you have water, if you're like, for instance, if you're dry camping and you're using the water from your water tank, and you get to the point, where it's like you have the water pump on and you turn on and it's like it's spitting, it's struggling to find water in the tank.
Yeah.
You've just put air into your system. You know what I mean? When you fill it up, you'll turn the water pump on again, and it'll still spit and sputter for a little bit just to get that clear the air out of the line. So
So it's on like the water heater's on both. What do you think it's using? The propane or the electricity?
I'm
Okay.
gonna cook it in like 10 minutes.
Cool.
So you could do the super heating way that way.
Sweet.
I want to show you as soon as you get from the drill. I'm going to show you something.
This turns into a bed. You said you just do the two.
Dude, yeah. So this will go down like pretty much. This will go like that, and then there'll be the two other plates right here.
Got it. And then it comes down somehow.
200 positive.
This might be a tool you might want to keep on. It doesn't need to be in a drill, but a screwdriver with this bit.
With a what?
With this bit, it's a square bit.
Yeah.
And just in case you were camping and you ever ran into an issue, needle nose pliers and square bit screwdriver. So, just to give you an idea. The water heater, water pump, all back here, guts, right?
Yep.
So you see this, there's a valve here. There's also a valve here, and there's a valve there. That is for your, like, if I wanted to winterize your system, I would basically shut off the water going into the water heater, and I would flip this so that the water would just totally bypass the water heater. So that's designed, that's what I'm saying, it's a little intense, winterizing, so you'd want to watch the videos if you were doing it yourself. But that's how you bypass the water heater. You also have, for this area, over under the bed, there's another access. So you have an access board right here. If you ever needed to do service yourself, there's that. You have other stuff under here. These drawers come out quite simple. You could just, pull these and just come out. You can access wiring and stuff back there if you ever needed to. The other board, main board, is right here. Underneath these two screws, I will see the plumbing. The plumbing basically runs all the way to here. The last part's going to be your outdoor shower.
Cool.
So now, when you're dry camping, you're going to have fresh water in the tank, and that water pump, if it's super quiet out, anytime you turn on, like flush the toilet, shower, that, anytime you turn on, you'll hear the water pump turn on. Close the valve, it'll turn off, right? So it's only turning on and off once needed, when you're using water. So let's say you had no water in the tank. You first filled it up, you turn the water pump on, you haven't opened up anything yet. The water pump's going to run because it's trying to pressurize all the lines, right? So you're going to want to pop some valves, get the air out. You get to the point to where when you turn off the sink or something, the pump turns off on its own because it's got a pressure sensor built in. So if you're camping in the middle of the night and you hear that water pump kicking on and off for no reason, it's on, but it should only turn on and off when you are using the water. If it's kicking on and off for no reason, you know what that means? It'll leak. It's like, hey, we're losing pressure somewhere because the water's leaking somewhere, and then the pump's kicking back on to pressurize it. So that's that's a heads up if you're dry.
Or we watched Penny and we didn't turn off those valves.
Or that, but then it'll always be on. It'll
Okay.
always be on. It'll be on until you run out of water. It's just kicking on. You hear like every 20 seconds, you got a leak. Now, if you're on city water's pressurized. You're not going to turn the pump on. You don't get a head. It's always pressurized. It's dead quiet. You use water. It's a pump turning on and off. You don't get a heads up. Your heads up is you're seeing water coming in from somewhere.
Yeah.
So if that ever that ever does, I mean, that's where your access point's gonna be. Okay, let's check right here. Let's check behind here. Let's check here. You're gonna see they're pretty. Don't. I mean, it is modern and everything, but it's pretty simplistic that we're gonna put together. A lot of, I hate to say it, if you are gonna have issues with it, it's gonna be within the first month, most likely. That's when the little gremlins are gonna come out. It's not gonna be so much what you do. A lot of it could be user error. If you hook up a hose and you don't have the pressure to do it, you know, they see, okay, it's blowing out because of that. But believe it or not, a lot of it's just, they've never been towed on the road. You know, and we get it with 5 miles. When they come in from Pennsylvania, they get rattled around a little bit, but not like they will when you're driving it. They're on a flatbed in the air. So the only rattling they're getting is from the bed itself. You know? You're going to be towing it. It's going to be an earthquake behind you.
Yeah.
You know? So
The real test. Yeah.
so the other thing is, like, if you look over here, like you might have a small water leak and you come here and you'll see, like, okay, it's dripping from right here. Okay, let me just, oh, it just got a little loose, you know. That's the most simple fix.
Cool.
And then same in over here, if you were to notice an issue here, you'll see right here you have all sorts of, like, where the hose is connected to where they could just, it could just nothing more than just a little. Now I go through, when I put this through the PDI, I remove every piece of wood and I hand tighten and check every single thing. It doesn't mean it's not going to come off. Sure, there's something in the future. So I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to get you to be like an RV tech by any means. I'm just trying to not, I don't want your camping trip to be ruined. What sucks more than anything is when somebody buys a trailer and then, like, their camping trip was ruined, and then it's like, no big deal, gonna bring it to Sonoma RV, it's under warranty, but they come here and it's like, by the time they get out of the truck, I already fixed it. It was like a 30-second fix, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's not always like that, but like, you have my phone number.
Oh, yeah.
You can just, I have an iPhone, so if one of you guys have iPhones, you said you do a FaceTime deal or whatever, or WhatsApp video, I'll do that. And I'll try everything I can to solve something over the phone.
Sure.
To
Awesome.
save you time and me time.
Yeah.